Hi, and welcome to my channel and my first tutorial. I was tossing up back and forth what I wanted to do for my first video and having a lot of trouble deciding. Then Natalie, aka Wandering Rabbit, created this amazing image called Ferdinand the Fox and gave it to everyone as a Christmas gift. I thought that was so lovely, so I wanted to make Ferdinand my first tutorial. I'll be doing some Copic colouring and then the card making tutorial. So let's get started with some colouring. So I'll be starting the card making tutorial with a bit of ink blending. I've cut out a piece of white cardstock a little bigger than what I needed. I like to do that to ensure there is a smooth blend right up to the edges of the cardstock after you've actually die cut out your rectangle. I'm placing Ferdinand roughly where I want him on the card, as I want the lightest of the inks to be behind his sparkler, and that way you can get the look of his sparkler shining in the dark. I've speeded up the ink blending as it did take some time to blend the panel, so I don't want you having to sit through all of that. You will see the ink blending looks a right mess at the beginning, but don't give up. If you keep blending, you'll end up with a smooth blend most times. I just recommend blending in circular motions as it really helps get an even blend. I'll just play some music now while I finish off the ink blending. You'll see I've got some black soot ink on my right Persimmon ink pad. After I finish blending, I'll just wipe the pad gently with a paper towel, and this removes any unwanted ink. We'll be doing some ink splatters to our background panel. This is my trusty splatter box. I'm sure, like me, you have lots of boxes your crafting goodies come in that would make a perfect splatter box. It's great to pull out whenever you're going to be making a mess in your craft space. I've grabbed my Altnew Metallic watercolour set, and I'll be using the gold for this panel. I just spray a little bit of water into the gold palette to moisten it, and grabbing a 111 round brush, I just tap against my finger to add the splatters to my panel. I add as much water as I need. Sometimes you'll need to add a little bit extra just to make sure you've got enough moisture on your palette. And I just keep tapping until I get the right amount of splatters on my background panel. And look at this beautiful shine you get from the Altnew Metallic. It's just beautiful. I'll set that aside to dry. I'll be using some gold cardstock to sit behind my ink blended panel. So I've grabbed this glitter gold cardstock that I had from my stash, and I'll be just die cutting it out with a stitch rectangle die measuring 14 3/4 by 11 3/4 centimeters. Then I'll cut out the background panel just slightly smaller at 3 3/4 by 10 3/4 centimeters. I'll just tape that down and take it over to my die cutting machine to cut it out. The background panel is cut and ready to go, so I will grab my sentiment from the MFT Make-A-Wish sentiment set, and I'll be stamping that out in black Versafine ink. I'll just place Ferdinand on my card roughly where I'm wanting him to sit and work out where I want to place the sentiment. As I'll be stamping in black, I don't want it too high up because I want it to be seen in that lighter coloured ink. So I'll just grab my Misti and pop my panel in there. I most probably should have done this initially, would have made it easier. And we'll again just line that up in where we want the sentiment to sit. pop Ferdinand back. That looks good. And we'll just get that onto the front door of the Misti. Make sure our panel's sitting correctly, and we'll stamp that up in our Versafine black Onyx ink. Because it's a background panel that has actually been blended, I'm going to stamp it twice just to ensure you get a nice impression of the stamp. Sometimes the ink can soak it in a little bit. So that looks good, and I'll set that aside to dry. All my panels are now ready to go, so I'll be gluing the background panel onto the glitter cardstock. Now, as the glitter cardstock is of a really rough texture, I want to make sure I put plenty of glue onto my background panel just to ensure that it adheres well to that glitter cardstock. So we'll just line that up and ensure that we've got a perfect border around the edge of our background panel. So you might lift it up. Sometimes I find that's easier to make sure it's all fully lined up, and that looks good. So ensure you give it a good press down to get that glue sticking to the glitter cardstock. I've grabbed out some black cardstock for my card base, and it measures 25 centimeters by 15.5 centimeters, and it's scored at 12.5 centimeters. And I've just burnished the edge with my Teflon bone folder. So I'm just going to add some glue to the background panel and attach that to the front. Again, I'm just leaving a border around the cardstock, and we just want to make sure again that's all lined up neatly with a nice even border. So we'll give that a good press down, and we'll get out our image to attach Ferdinand. So as Ferdinand is the star of the show, I want him to be the main focus. So I'm actually going to prop him up with a bit of foam tape to make sure he stands out. So I'm just going to cut some foam tape and just attach it in various spots behind him, just to ensure that he's all propped up when he's attached to the card. Now there's only a little bit of space behind the sparkler, so I'll just cut out a little bit for that. And I just will check and make sure that you can't see that on the other side, which all looks good. So we'll take off the release paper and get attached to our front panel. So we'll just line up that mustard seed ink and make sure the sparkler is just sitting just above that, and give him a good press down, and he's ready to go. I want to add some extra bling to my card, so I've grabbed out these gemstones that I had from my stash, and we'll use some of them in coordinating colours of yellow and orange to place around the card, just ensuring that we are placing them around the image to draw your eye to Ferdinand. So I'll just place two up the top, one orange and one yellow, and we'll do the same on the bottom of the card. Oh, this one's a bit sticky. So get that down, give that a good press, and that's done. Well, this is the finished card, and I just absolutely love how it turned out. It was so fun colouring up Ferdinand. It's just such a gorgeous image from Wandering Rabbit. If you'd like a copy of this image, just DM me on my Instagram at Tamara Makes a Card, and I'll make sure you get a copy. I can't wait to see what Natalie creates next. Thanks so much for joining me today and on my first tutorial on my own channel, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.